Welcome to the beautiful game. As always, still in a great mood. It is Blake here with Ferris.
Hola.
And Ron.
What's happening?
Top of the table, still Arsenal. That's what's happening, baby. Beating them Reds, them Liverpool, them Liverpudlians getting stomped on. Feels good to be alive. Be alive, guys.
Hey, you know what? I cut you a lot of slack because you've had such crap years for how many years in a row?
Oh,
so I cut you some slack.
I believe me. I'm glad you guys beat Liverpool. I think we'll go over it. There was some chances where you guys got the good end of the luck this week. Arteta's still a Saka ends up on the ground more than he does anything, and I don't like this Arsenal team. I like players on Arsenal, but I don't like.
Been trusting the process, baby. You just don't like them because they winning.
You still have one loss to who?
All right. Let's do some beer first before
you couldn't beat a piss poor Man United.
Before we start round 4 of Ferris hates everyone.
Usually.
So shall we roll into the beer, gentlemen?
Well, what are we going to talk about tonight?
Sorry.
Besides just us going back and forth on Arsenal.
I totally screwed that up.
That's what we're going to talk about. No. So today, what we're going to hit up is, what is it? That first thing is Arsenal stay atop of the Premier League as they beat spiraling Liverpool 3-2 at the Emirates. CR7 becomes CR700 as Ronaldo scores a 700 league goal and a 2-1 win away at Everton, finally beating the mighty Everton. Not only does Christian Pulisic start, but scores in a 3-0 comprehensive victory for Chelsea against the Wolves. And then last up, for Premier League anyway, we check in with the other results from round of the weekend action in the Premier League before we then pivot over to the Sultan of Sausage, the Samurai of Salami. Ron, as he tales of his beer news from around the great planet of ours before finally checking in on the MLS and NWSL, because it's all about postseason now. But first up, the beer.
Samurai salami. I love it. I love it, Blake. That's brilliant.
Samurai of salami. I don't know if that works with our Oktoberfest metaphors, but I'm going to go with it.
That's good. That's good. It's not only Oktoberfest season, but it's also Thanksgiving.
Canadian Thanksgiving,
eh? And guess what we have on the pod?
The Prince of Pork Shank to early turkey and cranberry sauce.
To the Prince of Poutine.
That's right.
We have a brewery that we've had on the pod before from Ontario, of course, Sandwich Brewing Company. And we have a juicy IPA at 5.7% alcohol. It is a New England style, and it is called White Bronco. And it is proudly served in Ontario, in the town of Sandwich town of Windsor. And it is on the side. This hazy, citrusy juice bomb delivers a tropical hop explosion whilst, great word, putting the brakes on bitterness. Our Midwest version of a New England IPA style will have you running back for more.
So they seriously named it after what they named it after, but like only alluded to it. It didn't actually say what it was named after.
That is correct.
Accurate.
Because how do you describe a New England IPA? It's juicy.
Yeah.
Like OJ.
Right.
Before he rode his white Bronco. I think it just hit Ferris for the first.
Was it a right Bronco or was it a?
It certainly was.
It was a white. I thought it was a red for some reason. White.
Oh, that burned into my childhood memery.
Yeah. No, I just. Yeah, you're right. It was a white Bronco.
Yeah, but they didn't allude to it at all. I mean, that has to be. There's no.
I don't know.
And then put the brakes on. I mean, come on. That's got to be.
It's got to be.
No allusion.
I didn't think about that. Throwing a little shade at Americans.
Well, OJ,
yeah, true.
We should totally tweet them and ask.
Funny. That's funny. And they don't really remember, this is the one that only has a Facebook page, which is
what their answer would be, by the way, Ron. No, we didn't mean to do that, but if we had, this is how we would have done it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
the can didn't fit. When the can doesn't fit, you have to acquit.
Oh my God. From Brutal Game Only fans to this day. A good two pods in a row.
I mean, I may have already started our account.
Yes.
This is going on it.
This has gone way too far. But yeah, their Facebook page, you just type in sandwichbrewing.com. If it's in Ontario, you're there. They post a lot of fun stuff. Their menus, what they got on tap. It's essentially their site, right? You can also untap a White Bronco, which we will do, and sits 33 on the IBU. And this New England Hazy Stone Fruity Citrusy Goodness, this is from Untapped, the result of awesome Ontario yeast from Escaperment Labs, Killer Fresh Hops by Hops Connect, and Borderline Fanatical Water adjusted by the brewer. So that's kind of a nice little write-up that Untapped did for the White Bronco for Canadian Thanksgiving. And
we've gotten a few questions about Canadian Thanksgiving,
Yep.
like why it's so early and what's the significance. Are they just copying America? And the answer is not really. Theirs is basically a celebration of a harvest, which happens about now. Ours is supposedly giving thanks for the, Indians or the indigenous peoples bailing us Europeans out when we didn't have enough food for the winter. So Canada's slightly different. They're just giving thanks for having a hard harvest.
But they also chose to do it this early to be like, ours was first now.
Right, totally.
Well, yeah,
Just
but it
like-
also makes sense, right?
Just like when they separated their, from England, they were like, can we wait and do it on July 1st? We want to be just before the July 4th celebration.
Right.
Yeah.
If you didn't have Canada Day on July 1st, I wouldn't accuse you of this with the Thanksgiving thing. But I'm just saying, with the July 1st Canada Day, it just makes me think you were like, let's just go a little earlier.
Why not?
So does that mean Canadian Christmas is on the 24th? Just kidding.
I mean, the Christmases I spent up there, they opened presents, on Christmas Eve, which that was like foreboding in my family. You couldn't do that. I don't know. Maybe. What next? All our bacon's gone, and we just got slabs of Canadian bacon everywhere.
And syrup.
But if you dip the Canadian bacon in the syrup, it is pretty good. Not gonna lie.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah.
Well, my beer. Hold on a second here. I don't know if this is going to come through at all, but I have my Doctor Who refrigerator. I don't know if you can hear it, but the little TARDIS is making its noise.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Isn't that nifty?
So it's got my nice little beer can in here. It's keeping things cool on my desk. I'm going to cut that sound off. And I thought since Arsenal was taking things to the next level, I would bring a beer from Next Level Brewing here. New brewery I discovered in Knoxville.
Nice.
Our sweet
Go Vols, baby.
I sent you a picture. Close to the stadium. I sent you a picture of the place there. Cool downtown area where there's now several breweries. I mentioned the German brewery Schultzgrau earlier. This one was a block and a half down the street. We just started walking and we saw it. And we're like, well, we got to go check that out. Next Level Brewing, craft brewery in the old north of Knoxville neighborhood of Knoxville, Tennessee, dedicated to bringing you the highest quality craft beer and a fun atmosphere. Hope you join us for a pint. The downside of going there after spending a bunch of time at the Schultzgrau Brewery, watching the Tennessee Vols game and eating too much food and having delicious fest beer, their place is so chill. You do just want to hang out there forever. I got a different beer. I'll tell you what I got. But what I had there was I said, what are you known for? They said our stouts. So I got their blueberry, coffee, maple, bourbon stout, which sounds like
Whoa.
That sounds like a lot of flavor.
Awesome. It was so freaking good.
And that's what you have right now?
That's not what I have now. That's what I had. I had there.
Oh, you said there's a picture of it. Yeah. That was cool.
Yeah, that's what I had there. It was delicious. So today what I got is something I wish Ferris was here for. This is their Viejo Hort. I'm probably saying this wrong, but Viejo Norte Knox, which I'm assuming Norte.
Is it
Knox.
Mexican lager?
I mean North, and it is a dark Mexican lager. So
Mm-hmm.
So it's a craft. Their craft version of that.
Dang.
Super stoked to give this bad boy.
Heck yeah, man.
Their beers. I mean, like I said, I only hit a couple because we had been to other places, but Viejo Norte Knox, Next Level Brewing, a dark lager. It is 6.62% ABV with a 10 IBU. So I know a favorite thing that you and I dig, Ferris, the whole craft brew doing craft Mexican lagers.
I love it. I love it.
But I've never had a dark one. I've only had like the lighter cerveza style.
Cool.
So,
Nice. All right. All the way from Ontario. Happy Thanksgiving to our friends in the north.
Spilled my first beer on the new desk already.
Perfect.
She's broken in. It's not a Brutiful Game Studio if the desk doesn't kind of smell like a full beer. Doesn't matter how quick you wipe it up or spray it down.
Well, this has got a lot of carbonation.
I was wondering if that was my port.
Ooh.
Yeah, those things. You guys have some massive head on that. What style was it again?
It's a juicy IPA.
All right.
New England style.
Oh, guys, today, by the way, while you're getting those poured, I went to their Nevada brewery in River Mills, North Carolina. Couldn't stay long. Holy cow. Their out there area is so beautiful. So beautiful. Stuff I've never seen before, like that, the one I sent you guys, the Blair Wheat IPA, or Blair Wheat Project.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back. Holy cow. And one of the best chili cheese dogs I've ever had. That's what they were serving out.
I love me a hot dog.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, shall we try these beers?
Cheers, gentlemen.
Be rude if we didn't.
Oh, Ferris, you'd love this.
I love this.
Oh, man.
That's got a lot of flavor.
It does.
Yeah, I was incorrect a moment ago when I said the hazy IPA. It's a New England IPA, and it's very clearly a New England IPA. It's got that kind of it's very hop forward.
Yep.
It's got a really good lacing kind of head to it. The mouthfeel is just a little on the like malty side.
A bit.
And then it finishes very clean.
Yeah.
But you know how like I think our standard mass produced Mexican beer we all dig is Pacifico. And if you try like one of the craft versions of like that style, like it's just crisper, it's like fresher.
Yeah.
This is very similar vibe. Like it's dark, it's got that kind of Negro Modelo, but like if Modelo's got like I don't know, they're like a heavier malt that almost kind of becomes a little syrupy on it. This isn't at all. This is fantastic. It's real bitter on the like back of the tongue, but you don't taste a lot of the hop flavor. It's malty, it's almost like a Mexican Martzen. Now that I've had a bunch
interesting.
of
Yeah. Interesting.
Is it that sweet like the Marzen?
Yeah, it's got that sweet malty flavor on it.
Oh.
Not as sweet as, mind you, right? So I say like the Mexican version, but like, man, that's tasty.
Awesome.
I'll be going back there. And there's like, what is it? Something Cheap Bastard or Rugged Bastard. There's another brewery right around the corner and another one called Zool, like XU with an umlaut L that's supposed to specialize in sours. So when you guys come up, we'll take Ron there, Ferris. But I'm slowly discovering stuff on the Knoxville Ale Trail that we can hit up.
Yeah, that looked cool.
Oh yeah, that it's cool how many places are doing ale trails now.
Yeah, and I didn't realize how many. And also, newly here, you're like, holy cow, there's so many breweries I have to get to. Oh, right. Well, just like there's never enough breweries to get to, there's never enough time to talk about Arsenal beating Liverpool. Arsenal stay atop of the Premier League as they beat a spiraling Liverpool 3-2 at the Emirates. exiling some demons. Arsenal not only score for the first time in 7 matches against Liverpool, they do it in the first 58 seconds, but they do so 3 times. The Red Hot Gunners and Liverpool yet another blow to a spiraling start to the season. I think that the whole exiling some demons, Liverpool has just been a problem for Arsenal for a long time. So this is like, to do this at home in front of the fans after winning the North London Derby is like even with this Liverpool that's spiraling, that's a big deal for the home fans. The atmosphere was supposed to have been really awesome down there. Highlights of this game, it all kicked off right away as a through ball from captain Martin Odegaard connects with Gabriel Martinelli. That pass was great too, who calmly slotted it home for the opener in the first minute. I think it was around 57 or 58 seconds. Darwin Núñez got his second of the season at a tied up at the 34th minute. And just before the stroke of halftime, another lethal counter from Arsenal ends with Saka tap-in at the 45th or 50th minute, 5 minutes into extra time, to take it 2-1 at the half. I will say personally, when that happened, I didn't worry about the Firmino goal that showed up at in the second half, because going into that half, I felt like Arsenal actually would be able to beat Liverpool. But Firmino does even the score out 2 apiece at the 53rd minute. And then 23 minutes later, another contentious call going in Arsenal's favor awarded them a penalty in the 76th minute for foul on Gabriel Jesus in the box. Saka stepped up, slid it home on the left, actually, to the direction that the goalkeeper actually went. But it gets past them, and they earn Arsenal all 3 points. And did you guys see the thing with Klopp before the match started where he was just staring at the Arsenal team for a long time on the pitch while they're warming up?
Yeah, I saw that.
It was really weird. Everybody was talking about them because I was flying, so you guys were nice and sending me updates. So I was like sitting in the airport. I think the game was going to be on Peacock, but then it wasn't. They moved it to
it was on
USA.
Yeah.
So I couldn't stream it while I was there in the airport. So, but I'm on Twitter, and people are like, "What is Klopp doing?" And all these pictures of him like staring at the other team. And I don't know what's going on over there, but it's a little.
There was a couple of times in the matches where there were some oddities during early second half. Maybe the ref comes over, calls Klopp and Arteta over, and they have this like 2-minute chat, and the noise was so loud in the stadium that both Arteta and Klopp kept like turning an ear toward the referee. But then once it evaporated, no one talked about it. So Klopp was obviously very vociferous on the sideline. Arteta came in like his cool Bond villain self. But no one ever talked about what the contentious issues were.
Yeah. I mean, remember, that was last year, right? Where they kind of each other and it got a little heated. It didn't feel like that was going to happen. I mean, looking at the replay, I was watching the replay sections of it, not in real time. But I mean, Liverpool's, I know they have injuries and stuff, but they don't have a midfield at all right now. But
in parts of this, their midfield was the stronger of the two in parts. I think ultimately Arsenal, how big that Partey is in the midfield is crucial, because that frees Odegaard up, and that helps to calm Xhaka down to where he doesn't feel like he has to be everywhere and win the ball back every time.
Yeah, he can just focus on what he needs to. And I actually go so far to say the game was won a little bit on the managerial side before the ball was kicked. And that is when the lineup was announced, and where it was going to be, everybody thought Zinchenko or Tierney on left back. Who's it going to be? And Tomiyasu gets the start. And that dude shut Salah down. Salah was disappeared in that game.
But I don't. They were switching a lot. The goal came off of that first goal came off of that right side with Darwin Núñez. Their second goal came kind of more from the left. I thought it was an interesting one from them to start him out there on the left. I thought it was more interesting on the other side for what Liverpool did. I think you're right in that aspect. They got it wrong because they went very attack heavy where I don't think they needed to. What I mean by that is they went Diaz, Jota, Salah, and Nunes. So you essentially have a center forward, a right wing, a left wing, and a striker. So now you're very anemic in midfield. You have Henderson and Thiago, who was back and fit. But they missed that Fabinho in that midfield there. And to me, that was very interesting. Now, they missed Andy Robertson off on the left. It was the Timasak, whatever his name is, off there on the left. And he got taken to town a few times. So I think you're right. From the lineups that were put out, I really scratched my head at what Klopp was doing with essentially all attackers in the front four and taking another extra person to help out that back line, which could have been a Fabinho. And I don't know if he was fit or not. He may not have been, but you still had other options that you could have played in that midfield that was more of a midfield player, not a center forward.
Yeah, I mean, people were like, it's a 4-2-4 from Klopp. Like, it's...
Yeah, very odd.
Yeah, it was a very, very... But, like, Tomiyasu, like, if you'd have said last year, you'll be 14 points ahead of Liverpool, and Tomiyasu will shut Salah down, and they'll sub him off in the 60th minute. And Tomiyasu will be playing left back, which he doesn't normally play, to do it. I don't know where that dude can't play, because he's bounced from center, left, to right back. He's great. And he takes a lot of pressure off the back in terms of injuries or, playing in Europe or whatever. But he was great. Kind of I feel like a quietly excellent hero of that match. I like me some Tomiyasu. Dude's awesome.
I think he's better than, I still don't think Ben White's a right back, although he did okay in this match. Gabriel's a card or a bad challenge, a penalty, a mistake, especially on that first goal, just a way he just is very chaotic. Liverpool should have, in my opinion, gotten a penalty because of him when that ball bounced off his hand and his hand was away from his body in the box. Somebody has to explain to me what handball is nowadays.
It changes every week.
That's not it's not a natural position. It's away from your body. It hits you dead on in the hand. It doesn't bounce off your body and hit you in the hand. It's in the box. How is that not a handball?
So here's some of the explanation. And of course, you can't see this if you're listening. No. This isn't me. I'm saying this is as they're explaining the decisions, the referee, this is the natural position. If his arm was out, it wouldn't have been.
His arm was out.
Wide out. His arm was like this, like in a V, next to him as he twisted around, and the ball was kicked about 2 foot from him into his arm. So they said, it's not intentional. Now on the other side, in the rules, hand in the which is it? Because I'm also old enough to remember a Wolves match where the players in front of David Luiz, and he's running in front of him, and his foot hits David Luiz from behind, and he goes down, and David Luiz gets a red card, and it's a penalty. Right? So, you see these very harsh things get thrown down, and then you see the Jesus one, and you're like, well, for me, if they'd have called it a penalty, and I would have been like, I guess that's handball. But then they don't, and they go, well, and it's intention, and it was so close to it. I'm like, okay,
but you don't run towards a player with your arms out. Nobody runs with their arms out
he wasn't running at him though. That's not
But you don't.
He was turning around. He was, go look at the video. He's not doing something weird with his arms. It's not like someone who slides and lifts their arm up and hits the ball. You know what I mean? That's not what happens there. As the two of them are fighting with each other.
But defenders go out there and defend with their arms behind their back or into their side. because they know that that's the option. It's not like my arm's here. His arm's not in the V. It's like it's extended from his body, and it prevents the ball from going further into the box. So that's what I'm so confused as to how that is not called there. Like the inconsistency from VAR is an absolute joke in England. And I can go back a few days earlier to the U.S. match when they called a penalty for England, and you're like, how the hell is that a penalty? The boot wasn't raised high. There was a head drawn all the way down to waist level, and that's where the boot was. So, whatever it is with VAR, it is completely up because it doesn't make any sense to me.
Trying to find.
I just put the picture on our chat.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the. Let me pull our chat up. I mean, and I want to mind you here. I'm not sitting here like his arm's not out trying to hit the ball. I'm just saying like that's what has been said is that he was twisting around, and the ball that foot. You see how close it is to him. They're saying it's not a handball because the guy was right there and kicked it into his hand.
But the interesting thing is that the rule in the book as it's written makes no mention about player distance. So it doesn't, nowhere does it say if it's X feet away, we're not going to call it because the player didn't have a time to remove his arm. It just says if it hits a specific location. So,
yeah, so the Dermot on Sky Sports, like he says, his verdict is he thinks it's incorrect. All I can say is I think that the referee and VAR felt it was too close a proximity. What we've seen this season, if the arm is out, in this case, at shoulder height, then it's been penalized. So when I saw it and saw the VAR being used, I expected it to be overturned. In the end, they felt it was too close, and that's why it wasn't given. And I anticipated the VAR review would recommend a review, and all I can think is VAR felt it was too close, so wouldn't recommend it. If he doesn't do that, then the referee can't look at the screen. So VAR didn't even say, I don't think I realized that. VAR didn't even say to look at it.
Well, what do you think I was just saying? VAR up. How do you not see what everybody at home sees? That's where I bet you $10.
Now,
the games on Saturday and Sunday of this weekend, we'll see that called as a handball.
Are we seeing a knee-jerk reaction the other direction to the complaints about VAR lately, where we're going to go, well, hold on now. Thanks for not being as involved, but now you're missing.
Well, when it's that obvious, like that's the part that is when you say handball, I can't think of a more clear handball than that. It sucks, and as a defender, it's unfortunate because your body does move that way at times, but that's not a natural position, and it prevents the ball from going into a more dangerous area. That's handball. Whether it was close or not that means nothing. Whether it's 2 feet away or 1 foot away, I've been called for handball when somebody's literally right in front of me, just on the other side of this table is Ron, and purposely lifts the ball up towards my arm. Players will do that, but it's been called. So how in this, when you sit there and go, the arm is not by his side, he's running like he's flailing like a duck or something out, whether it's in a V or not, whether it's at a 45-degree angle or not, the ball clearly hits the hand.
You keep saying that V thing, and I disagree. Like that's
you said the V thing. I never said the V thing.
No, I'm saying that's the running that way. Like that's the moment the picture is snapped, but like at speed, it doesn't look he's doing anything. It does not look intentional. I'll put it that way.
It doesn't matter whether it's intentional. There's nothing about handball being intentional.
It doesn't have to be. No, exactly. It doesn't have to be, but it's not like intentionally in the like. What is an unnatural position when you run at high speed and twist and turn? Is this natural or is this natural?
Yeah, but it doesn't sound like
it's still a handball. Whether it's
arms up and then I stuck my arms down on the ground. I'm just saying, like, what does that mean? What does an unnatural position mean? I'm not arguing that this wasn't a penalty or is a penalty. I'm saying define that. And that's part of the problem.
I don't think they even know how to define that.
That's what I'm saying. That's a very vague, unnatural position because you can say, well, that's weird to put your arm up there. But at speed, I can say, but the dude's like twisting around and getting his balance. So yeah, of course his arm is there. That's not a knack. That's how humans move.
But it doesn't even sound like people are arguing the fact that the reason the call was not given was because of proximity, not arm position. But again, like I'm reading the rules from the Premier League book, and nowhere does it talk about proximity to a player, to the ball, to anything.
Yeah.
So either define it or don't. And if you don't, you can't make calls like that and say, well, it was too close. Because penalties are not about the reaction time of anybody, whether it's a person being taken down in the box, whether it's handball, deliberate or not deliberate. It's not about the reaction distance.
Situation, if VAR doesn't exist, that the conversation goes, oh, I think that should have been a penalty, but in real time, the guy was so close, the ref didn't call it. But VAR exists, so we say you should have got it. But then VAR doesn't recommend the ref to look at it. That's where I feel like VAR is trying to hedge its bets a little bit right now. Last week, they let some stuff go, too, that was like, I'm surprised they didn't.
No, they didn't.
You know.
They didn't. No. They carded somebody that should have got a yellow card, the same as Odegaard had got in this one in the second half.
They didn't but VAR didn't turn over that challenge.
True.
That's what I'm saying. Sorry. So to be clear.
True. Okay. I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, they weren't turning over stuff that was happening on the field, which it almost feels like the refs are like, hey, I don't know.
But
is it just going to be VAR all the time? And it's a very weird situation.
We'll talk about the next game in a call that was overturned by VAR for a goal. And good luck watching that 5 times and figuring out how they got handball from that.
Yeah.
I eventually saw it on, and we'll get into that in a sec, but we've been hammering this on the show. It is the inconsistency that drives me nuts. Whether this is for Arsenal, for Liverpool, for United, for whoever it is, that when you see it, you go, that's a handball. And it's not called. Even worse, VAR looks at it and goes, no, that doesn't. But what is handball now? What are the rules? The inconsistency is so much that nobody knows how. We can barely score a goal without wondering if that's even going to be called back for something that took place 4 plays beforehand.
Yeah.
It's just so inconsistent.
So I'm reading the Athletics, and I tend to trust the Athletic because they have such great soccer analysts. They wrote that it is understood the penalty was not awarded due to Gabriel's proximity to the ball, with the Arsenal defender deemed to have no time to react to Jota's cross. So if that's the case,
that's not in the rules, though.
It's not in the rules.
It is nowhere in the rule book.
Right.
Similarly, we granted different league, but Orlando City played last night. And the reason we won is because there was a cross into the box and a player was jumping and was seemingly protecting his head with his arm. And when the cross came in, it hit his arm first and then deflected off of his head. Called a handball in the box. Orlando City get the ball. So is that actually
hands
handball?
In the same spot as what we're seeing here? It's that the hands by the head and the arms extended from the body. That's, we're two different countries, but
no, but the difference is that ball isn't 2 feet from the guy, though. I mean, that would be the difference in that scenario, right? Like, he's not the dude's foot is 2 feet away from Jesus' face when that ball is kicked. That would be the difference, right? If we were comparing apples to apples with this, with the Orlando City one, there wasn't that.
I realize that they're not the same situation, right? But
again, it doesn't say anywhere in the in the laws of the game that proximity plays into it. So where's that made up from?
I think Ferris just cares because finally VAR is giving everything to Man United for a change.
Weren't they always?
That's not true.
That's always true. Man United gets all
I remember
the calls.
all the Arsenal fans. Oh, that wasn't a foul on Eriksson for the first goal that we had. It was called back and blah 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 blah. No, it's it's inconsistent across the board. Whether it's a bad call for United, a bad call for Arsenal, a bad call for Liverpool. The obvious on what we know of the rules, we now don't know. Like, I don't know what a handball is anymore. I don't even think I know what an offsides is anymore.
Oh, geez.
Like, is it shoelace offsides?
It is now.
Is your bone from your knee offsides, but because the majority of your knee is onside, you're technically offside by, like, what is offsides now?
It's not your elbow. If it's just your shoulder instead, it's like, and that is one where VAR, there's no excuse not to make that consistent, right? They draw a little line and you say it's the shoulder or the whatever you want to say it is, but also there needs to be a unless they're going to zoom in and can make a digital line that is precisely per the blade of grass. Offsides probably needs like a 6-inch buffer or whatever they, on that. If they draw a line and someone loses scoring because it's a toe over, that would probably never have been called at real time in a real game. Or a real game.
Right, and that's where if it's that close, what's the old saying? The attacker wins the tie.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
but that's not what's happening now.
Well, and to choose whether VAR should influence a game or not is not something you work out mid-season with real teams and real points on the line. You don't realize it and take a step back 5 games in and go, oh, maybe we shouldn't be intervening as much. Because now the first 5 games just a handful of teams because of calls that were made that you're now saying, well, maybe we got that wrong. Now, it's one thing to come out and say we got that wrong, and refs can do that. But there's somebody sitting in a room with unlimited things that we all can see on TV with the rules in front of them that we somehow blatantly get wrong, and the PGMLO, and we've said it here a few weeks back, comes out and says we got that wrong. That's a 2-step process that you got wrong. Not only on the field, but then reviewed while you're sitting there having chips and tea. That's supposed to help the first thing. So both of your fail-safes just lost. And now you're coming out and apologizing to a team that just lost 3 points that could be millions of dollars down the road, whether you get into top 4 or whether you go down. So who the is over the PGMLO or whoever, or who's the governing body that needs to come in and really reform this a bit? And it seems like it's just England. Like, it seems like England has no clue how to apply this stuff.
It's just I think you're right that someone needs to come out and figure out how other countries are, especially like we've said dozens of times in the pod, when it came out in Germany for the World Cup, it was so well applied and so consistently applied. I don't know anybody who had problems with the VAR in that.
Is that Brazil?
I thought it was
Where
Germany.
is it? So there hasn't been a World Cup in Germany.
There wasn't? Yes, there was.
Yeah. Wasn't that the first one that had the was it Russia?
Maybe it was Russia.
VAR.
Either way, the first one we all said this was amazing.
It went really well. Yeah.
And then since then, England has not been able to apply the rules consistently. So, to be honest, I don't give a rat which rules they want. Just pick them and then apply them to everyone consistent
manner.
And I think the main thing is, like, there are humans involved.
Well, yeah.
I don't expect 100% consistency.
No.
But what you would think is
the conversion rate needs to be a little bit better.
Right. We should have a season where you go, well, that was a weird one. Not, what are we going to get this week on the spin the wheel of weird calls? Like, it's just every week. Like,
no, you know what? To be honest, I understand why you say you don't expect 100% consistency, and I think you're right. But I think you should hit when it comes to VAR challenges, you should hit 80%. You can see the damn thing in slow motion from angles we don't get. So how are we watching the screen seeing, no, this is not right, or yes, it is, should have been this, and it's still applied so inconsistently that the pig mall has to come out and say, sorry, we got this wrong.
And like, how does VAR not even recommend going over to the monitor to look at this in real time? You know, that's one thing that they put into place to try to help with this, right? Hey, you might want to have a look at that. Go over and have a look. Referee goes over there, has a look, and if he still sticks with that, then okay, that's the referee on-field opinion of it, but at least VAR chimed in. But in this case, the VAR review was complete. So which one is it? When do you apply when he goes over and looks at the monitor now? So VAR says it's okay? So now we're okay, screw it, then we're good.
Well, this is where I think it feels like they are pulling back.
I don't disagree with you on that, but
I don't know. I think the fact that they are changing the variables and not in a clear, understanding way, even probably for the players and the referees, makes it all the more difficult when you're doing it in the middle of the season or
Liverpool,
early in the season.
And plus Liverpool's just got to get used to it. It's not fair, but it's how it is. They always give breaks to big clubs, and that's just
well. And we spent way too much time on this. We won't even talk about the penalty that was extremely soft. We'll kind of glaze over that one.
No, I'm not going to glaze over that because let me tell you what.
Oh, I can get tapped in the foot and go down like I got shot and roll around 5 times.
That though, the David Luiz red card and penalty I mentioned, to me, like. The dude who's in front of David Luiz is running and reaches back and hits David Luiz. He goes down and they give him a red card and the penalty. I'm just saying, that was way softer. And you're like, well, it hit him. He's in the box. But also, if Liverpool did, and I guarantee you, Jurgen Klopp, this is exactly his take on it. Don't whine about getting that penalty that was soft called on you because you had 14 chances to clear that ball in that run of play.
But
they never.
That doesn't mean you give them a penalty because they didn't clear the ball.
I'm just saying.
If that foul's not called. That foul's not called 9 times out of 10 in the box and hasn't been. To me, it just goes to the consistency. And I think Phil, when we were going back and forth, he said, the refereeing this game is just terrible. It's a bad blah, blah, blah. And he said, it's if you're going to call soft fouls, call them consistently throughout the game. But there was a lot of points in this game where the soft fouls weren't called. So what are you going to call soft fouls or are you not? It's not a pick and choose battle. If that's a soft foul on the field, call it in the box.
So here's the explanation on that. Okay. From Dermot, on Sky Sports.
Nobody liked him anyways when he rest.
The next problem is when it's thrown to the VAR. Okay, well, he even says it raises 2 issues. Firstly, it's not in line with what has changed this season. The league has raised the threshold into more physical contact. Without a doubt, Thiago doesn't get the ball and makes contact with Jesus, but it's enough to give a penalty. In my opinion, I think not. The next problem, though, is when it's thrown to the VAR. Michael Oliver will say to the VAR, he doesn't get the ball. He made contact with the player, which he has. So there's no evidence that he has made an incorrect decision. The VAR has to stay out of it, and it will always default to the referee's decision. And that's just me reading the explanation there. Would this fall under well, at the end of the day, it's soft, but it didn't get the ball, so there's not a clear and obvious error. In a way, is that VAR being correct, doing what it's supposed to be doing? It's saying, that's soft, but you made the call on the field. It's not like he missed him. He did hit him, so we're not going to turn that over.
Right, so the question...
But he made a meal of it afterwards, and that's why the call occurred.
The question would be, was it a clear and obvious error?
Right, and it wouldn't be if, like he's saying, yes, it's soft, but he hit him without hitting the ball, so...
That's not an error. Ron's point is that fact, a clear and obvious error.
Right.
It doesn't matter if he made a meal of it afterwards. What matters is, was that a clear and obvious error? Yeah. And if VAR did not think so, then they weren't going to recommend a review.
Let's all remember this as the season goes along. Because I bet you another call like this occurs and it's not called.
It's going to change next week.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. I'm saying, like, if this were a one-off or 10 times out of a whole season, you're like, well, okay, so I guess that's how they were viewing it. Like, you may not like it, but I understand what they're saying. But it's not going to be the case. The next week, it will absolutely not be a penalty, and people will go, I don't understand. In fact, it'll probably be against the Liverpool player getting hit the same friggin' way, and they will not get a penalty, is what will happen. It's a mess. Do you know what's not a mess? Arsenal top of that table.
Well, I don't think you have to worry about Ferris drinking the Arsenal Kool-Aid anytime soon.
No.
Ferris is just angry that this all stems back from me making the bet that Arteta will be around longer than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
No, it's let's get our games postponed for no good reason. Like the antics that he and his team pulls, I don't like. They're cheap.
What antics?
They're cheap. They're just cheap antics. Look at any time Saka hits the floor, anytime Martinelli hits the floor. Look at him. He should have been carded in this game. Arteta, he was pretty much on the field a handful of times when Liverpool went to throw the ball in.
And God, you just hate a coach with passion. You've had such bad ones.
Well, no, there's lines of the box for a reason. He wasn't in the lines of the box.
God, I just don't remember what that's like to have a coach that cares, a manager that's got passion.
Eric Ten Hag would beat the out of Arteta.
I don't know. I think the Bond villain's wiry.
I think he's wired. I think he's quicker.
You do not the guy that has 3 names and is bald.
Lay hands on him first. I'm just saying. I think that's with Ryan. I think he's a little wiry, a little quick. It's all right, man. It's all right. You didn't believe the process.
But I am glad that you guys beat Liverpool. I love seeing them all the way down in 11th place right now. It does make me happy. But we're still 9 games in.
No, what is it? At this point, Liverpool, where I saw the stat, were like something like 14 points ahead of Arsenal in this game last season. That's crazy on both sides.
Yeah. So a quick interesting thing about, before we move on, is that Michael Oliver, the referee, guess who his most penalized Premier League team is?
What do you mean, like given penalties for or against?
Given penalties against.
I don't think it's Arsenal.
And he's trying to make up for that.
Liverpool.
Okay. Liverpool.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. I'm forgetting the guy's name that no one liked, who was Arsenal's bugaboo, who always did more. So there you go. You know?
Interesting.
Sometimes you do walk alone.
There he is.
Well done.
I vote that for name of the episode of the pod. Sometimes you do walk alone. I got to get that shirt, man. Woo. All right. See, now moving on. Speaking of walking alone, no man walks the road of soccer alone like Cristiano Ronaldo. CR7 becomes CR700 as Ronaldo scores a 700 league goal and a 2-1 win away at Everton. A sub on Cristiano Ronaldo breaks yet another record as he gets his 700th league goal, which ends up being the match winner as Manchester United bounced back from last week to earn all 3 points at a viciously good Everton that I can't believe Man United managed to beat. One more, Manchester United conceded the goal first in the match as it was Alex Iwobi. I was like, there's a little Arsenal happening in this match when I first saw the score, who curled a lovely strike from outside the box to open scoring in the 5th. However, it only took about 10 minutes for United to equalize as new boy Anthony once again scores for the Red Devils, making it 3 goals, 3 league matches. That's pretty good. And just before halftime, Casemiro's, said that right?
Casemiro's.
Deep midfield through ball to former Real teammate Cristiano Ronaldo puts him in behind the Everton backline. And CR7 makes it 700 league goals. That's just crazy. I mean, we all know, Erling Haaland's going to get that next year, but it's good.
I actually have a stat on that, but
it's
go
good
on.
Cristiano's got it now. Hold on to it for this year. A third goal for United is called back by VAR, and Everton breakthrough as Manchester United or can't quite break through as Manchester United earn all 3 points on the road. What is that stat? I want to know what it is because
you gotta give me a little more time. I didn't quite have it prepared,
okay.
But I will give you a stat on Ronaldo and the goals that he scored. So he scored 5 goals at Sporting before he was then signed with United the first time. Where United currently has 144 goals for Manchester United. He has 450 goals for Real Madrid.
Wow.
And 101 for Juventus.
Wow.
And I don't want to get this stat wrong. I just got to figure out where I saw it at. That was like, oh, that's how much 700 goals is. So give me a few on it. But I didn't watch this match because we were going to the Orlando City match, and I was just kind of keeping up to date with it and kind of watched the extended highlights. Didn't look great. Martial looked good before going off with injury. Anthony, of course, looked good again. A Rashford goal called off. That was the one that we were alluding to, where you had to watch it 7 times to see where the handball actually occurred.
Yeah, I'm going to pull that one up, too.
And, again, clear and obvious comes to mind with that. But a win nonetheless. Everton pushed. Everton are a much better team than they were the first few games of the season and were for a majority of last year. And this was not an easy game. It's on the road, and I think United just did what they could, got the points, and got out of there. And it's wins like that will help throughout the season.
So, do you want me to? This is the same article, the Sky Sports one. Let me give you his instant breakdown, Dermot's breakdown on.
Yeah,
on
I read that one earlier.
Oh, geez.
Go for it.
Yep, go ahead.
Rashford scores what looks like a third goal for Manchester United, but is penalized for controlling the ball with his hand after Everton defender James Tarkowski came in to challenge him. VAR rules the goal out for handball. Dermot's verdict: correct decision. It does strike his hand, but he's the only player involved in the move. He scores, and it doesn't go to any other player. You can argue he still got to go on and score, but there's not another player involved. The fact that an Everton player plays it onto him is immaterial, but whether it strikes his hand or arm, and it does strike his arm. And granted, I know he's not reffing these matches, but that's such a definitive take on the handball that has not been definitively called.
Right. So Ferris and I were looking at this over dinner tonight, and there is one angle. If I don't know if you've seen the video yet, Blake, but there is one angle that you have to put into like super infinity slow motion drive in order to really tell. Because as the play is actually happening, it really looks like it goes over the Everton player, bounces back up, and hits his chest and then his face before hitting the ground for him to chip it over the keeper. We had to watch it. I don't know how many, half a dozen times.
I'm watching it now. I didn't even see it.
Okay.
And then there's one angle that shows it hits like the inside of his bicep and just flicks off.
It looks like it goes, as I'm watching this, it hits the inside of the bicep before hitting his chest.
Correct.
But this is kind of like...
I mean, you had to slow that down to see it. You cannot tell that in real time.
Yeah. So why is that?
Is that clear and obvious?
Okay.
Enough for them to go back and VAR it, and then that's...
And it was like a 4-minute span of time.
The ref didn't see it. Nobody on the field is throwing up complaints from Everton, from Lampard. The announcers don't until there's a pause in the restart of play where it's like, what are we looking at here? Oh, now we have to go all the way back. So, like, again, clear and obvious. I'm not saying it's the wrong call because I get, he scored a goal from doing that, but did he control it with his arm?
And then
and that's in the same position that Gabriel had his arm in when he did, and the ball was in a close proximity.
It's a little different, but
it's a different. His hand is straight out, whereas Gabby's is bent up, and so it is different. His arm is also much lower. Gabby's was up higher.
But also, the other thing that's interesting is it comes off of the Everton player and goes up into Rashford, who would not have had time to react to the bounce. So why is that not the same?
I don't know. I mean, Dermot says this is the correct decision. I mean, it does
I think it's weak on both. Like, on both reasonings, it's a similar setup. And if you're going to apply the whole distance thing to a handball in one case, but not another, when the distance is, albeit a slightly larger difference, but not by much.
So the proximity, it's not as close. Is it because the ball hits his foot, then his arm and his chest? So it's because it technically doesn't go from the Everton's player into his arm. It hits off his own leg into his arm. But, like, why would that matter? I don't know.
Again, we've just been discussing it for 5 minutes. Where's the clear and obvious in this? When on the field, it was not called.
See, and this is one where
inconsistency.
If the Gabby one had stood and this one had not been called, you could argue VAR worked in the sense of, well, they didn't see clear and obvious, so they just didn't. But that doesn't seem clear and obvious to me.
They had to go back and study this because there's only one angle that shows it. And it sure as hell wasn't in real time.
And more importantly, I had Rashford on my FanDuel daily fantasy lineup. It cost me points, mother. I cannot find the stat, but anyways, it was along the lines of, at the current rate, Holland would have to score 40 goals a season until 2037 to get to 700 goals.
You think it ain't happening? I think it's going to happen.
I mean, it could.
It very well could. But 40 goals a season.
Holland is at the relative beginning of his career.
No, not wrong. But if you think about that, we're not into 30s yet, and we're only in 2022. That's a long time, 40 goals a year from now until then.
Yeah. But to be fair, the Spain league sucked for a long time, except for 2 or 3 teams when Ronaldo was there. So it was easy to score that many.
But he got his move to Spain from scoring in the Premier League and scoring a boatload of goals in the Premier League. And you can have that argument about, well, Messi's played at easy Spain league and then even easier French league. He's like,
I don't think Ronaldo would be at 700 goals if he had stayed in the Premier League. And I'm not knocking him; he would still have an insane amount of goals. But I think you're at Real Madrid or Barcelona in those years playing in Spain, your chances of scoring are a lot.
Yeah, he also scored 100 goals in Juve. How long was he at Juve for?
Not long, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So 100 goals is a boatload. He scored about 80-something his first time in the Premier League, and then obviously up to 100 and something this year. He's the GOAT. He's great. But anyways,
he's gonna go
Christian Pulisic score 700 goals.
He still can't score. He can't play anymore in the Premier League. He's gonna go join some England Championship League or something. He's just to keep scoring. 50 out there still trying to net one a year. So Holland can't catch up with him. Moving on to another. Well, I guess he's not Cristiano, but Cristiano Pulisic. He gets to start over at Chelsea and scores. Well, not only does he start, but he does also score in a 3-0 comprehensive victory for Chelsea against the Wolves. Pulisic and Mount shine as Chelsea put 3 past the struggling Wolves and moved to 4th in the table. Wolves,
not good.
I'm struggling. Pulisic could have had a hat trick in the first half with the number of chances he had, but it was just before the stroke of halftime when Mount's cross into the box connected with Kai Havertz's head as he lofted over Jose Sa. Then 9 minutes after halftime, a lovely give and go between Mount and Pulisic puts Pulisic behind the line to calmly lift the ball over the diving keeper for his first of the season. that had to be cathartic. Another first goal of the season by Armando Broja added the cherry on the top of the 89th as Chelsea win their third in a row, moving to the top 4.
That was also Armando Broja's first Chelsea goal.
Correct, because he was loaned out to Southampton last year.
Yep. It should have been a scoring Sunday for us.
Pulisic should have had a hat trick in the first half alone with the number of chances that he had.
Just dragging wide and
a great save on one by Sa.
I cut him a lot of slack because he hasn't had very consistent play.
Sure.
I was happy he was in the starting lineup. He looked eager. He looked pacey. He was making clever runs. He was trying to make insightful passing moves. So I think he had a really, really good game.
So let me ask you a question. What do you think? Is this Wolves being terrible? Is this Chelsea getting a manager bounce? Is this Chelsea on a turnaround from where they had been?
I think it's of a slow Chelsea turnaround along with the manager bounce.
Just careful. You start trusting that process, Ferris is going to get mad in a couple of years.
That's fair. The hard part for Chelsea is injuries. Injuries. Ben Chilwell, Raheem Sterling, Aubameyang, N'Golo Kante, Ziyech, all on some sort of injury lookout.
At least 3 are starters, right?
Yeah.
You figure Aubameyang starts, Kante, of course, and Chilwell.
Yeah. So this is we have Champions League tomorrow, and then we face Villa on Sunday. So I think this is going to be a tough couple of matches up the road for us. Potter seems to be making a lot of strides in a couple of things. One of them being confidence. One of them being retaining shape and responding to turnovers. In this, granted, the Wolves are not that great a team, but we attack that ball like crazy, and Chelsea hasn't done that in a while.
You're telling me, essentially, you just described a Brighton team with Potter over.
I mean, kind of. Yeah.
Not wrong.
Yeah.
With a lot better talent out there to do those things. I mean, Chelsea getting stride is scary with the talent they have. I know Aubameyang is hurt, scored a goal in his last game. I think he could be that number 9 at least for a season, anyways.
No,
number 9.
it's not going to be a season. It's going to be until January.
Right?
He's gone.
Maybe. To where?
Well, I said you guys that PSG is hunting him.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, dude. And you know what? You look at me and tell me he won't just go.
There's what? No.
He'll go.
How has financial fair play not hit PSG yet? Like that's. I think he stays. I think he stays till at least Chelsea and Arsenal pull a first, so he can.
That's November.
Is it November
22nd? We also play Man U early in November.
You guys will demolish us.
I don't know. I don't.
Or it'll be like
a
really 0-0 game.
Aubameyang ran out this week. I don't think it made him look good though.
He did what?
Did you hear him running his mouth? The video that went around.
No.
Where he was like, Arteta can't handle big players. He only likes young people who just do whatever he says. And him and his friends are laughing, but most pundits are like, that actually doesn't look good on you when
they also may not be entirely false.
Oh, of course you'd agree to that. You know why that's Arsenal?
Why? Who's big? Who's a big player at Arsenal?
Everybody in that team, because right now...
No. It's a team, and it's a good team, and there's a lot of young talent, exactly as Aubameyang's saying. Who's a star there?
So what he's really saying is he can't handle a big player that's a pain in the ass and full of an ego, and so he got rid of him.
But to Aubameyang's point...
Is that false?
To Aubameyang's point, like, not everybody can coach this is a really bad comparison. But there's a reason that Phil Jackson was as successful as he was in his player management of stars. Sir Alex Ferguson is big of, how good of a manager he was. Now, Arteta is still very young in his head managerial career. And maybe Arteta learns from this, and I'm sure they both have to some degree. But is what Aubameyang's saying entirely wrong? No, I don't think so. It's definitely his point of view and what he went through and what he experienced and what he thinks of himself. But I think
first say something. He's gone. He wasn't scoring. They get rid of him, and now they're so much better.
Yeah, but again, he was made captain. He was made captain from it. Just there was a lot there that when what we talked about that Arteta could have handled that better. Aubameyang, a lot of things he could have handled better than that. So again, I'm sure they both walked away and learned something from it, but they both have their sides of the story and their opinions on the matter. And
I say him and his buddies running their mouth about it and sharing it on social media says, I don't think he's learned much.
No, I don't think he has either, but
it's ego driven.
It's ego driven, and you wait until November 23rd, and when the end result happens of the game, does he score or not? Does he run his mouth like an Ibra can run his mouth and then put one in the back of the net and flick off the crowd?
Because the instant response most people had that were Chelsea fans chiming in were, so when is he going to start doing this to us?
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
He's like the Jose of
yeah, I mean,
maybe good for the first 2 seasons and then burn it all down the third.
It also doesn't mean that. I mean, he's an egotistical
maniac,
jackwagon. But
jackwagon.
Yeah, I figured that was appropriate.
That's a good one.
Maybe he's egotistical. It doesn't necessarily make him wrong in the thought that he had about Arteta, right? I mean, look at managers who come out like what's his name, who was at PSG, Pochettino.
Don't you think you're leaving a lot out there? I'm a raging. He can't handle a big player. Like, I mean, there's a lot of omission left out of that conversation.
Well, I'm sure he doesn't think he's a.
I don't. It doesn't. It didn't come across like many players were too sad to see him go.
No, I don't. For the long run, it was probably better at the time, but you could still be sour about it when people move on, and it sounds like he is, and is sharing a point that when you think about it, right now it's not proven wrong.
And also, I don't
think
that reflects badly on Arteta.
No,
right?
I don't think it hurts either way, and it probably does look worse for Aubameyang, but it's not entirely wrong. And we'll find out November 23rd. Hopefully he gets to start, because that'll be some entertaining watching.
Either way,
sorry,
go ahead.
That right before the break for the World Cup?
Yeah. It has to be, yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me double check the schedule, but it's pretty close.
If it's in November, it has to be before the World Cup.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
But I mean, like I'm saying, that's like real close, right?
Mm-hmm. Might even be the last game beforehand. Because Premier League players only have about 5 days to turn around for the first World Cup game.
November 6th.
Well, I was way early.
My bad. November 6th. They have Man U October 22nd.
So Man U's probably the last game before the World Cup.
No. October 22nd.
Oh, October 22nd. Gotcha.
Yep. November 12th is the last games.
Okay. Much
before.
Earlier.
Yeah. Then the next is Boxing Day. So it'll be an interesting. Chelsea's got a lot of interesting teams coming up. Thankfully,
coming out of the World Cup, that's an anything goes day. That's going to be bonkers.
That's going to be a lot of players still resting, is what it's going to be.
Yeah, it has to be a mess.
That's what I mean. So chances to like Norway, why didn't you get to the friggin' World Cup?
Right. Yeah, right. Which means like Holland. Holland is going to, on that single day, is going to beat Villa, Southampton, Wolves.
He's going to score 13 hat tricks.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Oh, it's going to be crazy. One other thing I'd like to mention before we move off of Chelsea, even though we took the Chelsea time to talk about Arsenal, go figure.
Hey, he plays for Chelsea now. That was Chelsea conversation.
Yeah, sure. I was really proud of the Stamford Bridge attendees for giving Diego Costa.
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah.
Home return round of applause. He was our last prolific striker, and
That's fair. Yeah.
it was really nice for him to, when he came off in like the 65th or 70th minute, he basically took the long way to walk. He got off the field quickly, but basically did a lap of Stamford Bridge on the field and clapped to the audience. They clapped at him. And it was cool to see him back in action.
It was wild to make that exit and pass his business card over to Potter.
Yeah, right. If you need somebody real.
I'll stay fit for you.
And look, if the Wolves somehow lose Costa and or Traore to injury or trade or anything, there's nothing left of the Wolves attack. There is nothing there.
No.
So you better hope. I mean, in the first half, it was absolutely terrible for the Wolves. And at halftime, Costa and Traore had to say, just give us the ball, because it was absolutely abysmal. And yes, Chelsea was firing and putting a good press through the midfield to disrupt anything the Wolves were doing. But man, that attack is just lethargic and limp the entire match. So Wolves got a lot of work to do.
Again, where they're sitting at, I just picture them staying there. They
in 18th right now,
not showing a lot of promise. Well, speaking of some teams that aren't showing a lot of promise, we'll look at the rest of the league real quick. Other results for the weekend consist of, this game was kind of wild, actually. Bournemouth coming back from a goal down as 2 quick goals secure all 3 points for the Cherries against Leicester 2-1 to Bournemouth. What did I just say? That bottom 3 could pretty much maybe stay.
Leicester bad.
I think 2 weeks ago there was an argument of, Leicester still, though. I mean, don't count them out. And I feel like that air is out of that tire completely now. The Bride still has a job. I mean, I don't know who they'd hire. Steve Bruce.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, he's going to Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Leicester, baby. That's they got them good. Hey, man. No. Who's going to have pints with chips and beers and on the plane with Vardy? That's Steve Bruce.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on, those dudes just drink it up and have some crisps. They'll be having a great time. Holland, of course, scores again as Manchester City professionally dispatched Southampton by a score of 4-0. The shocker was he didn't score a hat trick.
Yeah, right.
As we're all grossly reminded of how good Man City is again. Newcastle continued to surge up the table, kind of quietly sneaking up, right? While all this talk of, these other clubs that we're talking about here in the top 6, and then here comes Newcastle creeping on up. They put 5 past Brentford, winning 5-1 on the day. And then in a super emotional match, the lone Harry Kane goal, assisted by Son, is enough for Tottenham as they grind out the 1-0 win against Brighton on the road. Don't know if you guys saw the presser afterwards with Conte, but they lost their midweek. They lost their trainer, one of their physical trainers, to leukemia. It sounded in such a way that like he got diagnosed and they're like, oh, dude, it was very late, a very super late thing.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And Conte was he was very emotional afterwards. It was a big deal to get that win for them.
Also, Harry Kane goes out on injury in that game. So
yes.
Yeah.
That's questions going forward for both.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything long lasting right now from reports, but
ankle, he got taken out in the ankle or something.
Well, hey, Son just had his hat trick day, so it's time to keep that rolling for them here's his chance to do it. Jesse Marsh and Leeds can't hold on as they give up a 1-goal lead on the road to Crystal Palace. 2-1. I really thought they were going to hold that, but
he scored. The theme of these games were a lot of teams scored early, but gave up goals in the second half or later on. Same with this next game.
Very same with the next one. West Ham roar back. How cool is that? I found that West Ham bar in the middle of downtown.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
that was cool. But West Ham roar back from going down early against Fulham as Bowen, Smaka, and Antonio all get on the score sheet for the Hammers, 3-1 to West Ham Hammers. Finally, two clubs struggling for form. Nottingham and Villa play out a 1-1 draw at the City Ground. That's a good draw for Forest because they need any point they can get.
True.
That is not good for Villa. Villa could survive. Sorry, Matt.
Just from being three worst teams out there, three more worst teams out there.
I know he was just texting me the other day, and it was good to hear from him. Now I feel like a jerk doing this, but don't worry, don't fret. You're going to be safe because there are definitely three worst teams. I think you're going to be all right.
Stevie G could be next sacked. Keep an eye on that.
So an interesting thing is if you look at the presser after today's match and then after last week's match, it's the exact same thing. We need our strikers to step up. We need our midfield to play better and more insightful balls, and we need to be more clinical in the final third. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
week after week after week.
But also a front office that didn't buy any players, guys. Remember that too. Like whatever manager
not a lot.
Yeah, but he's going to be the scapegoat. No one's going to blame the front office this year.
And also, I guess Villa had spent a lot of money prior, I should say. This year, not as much. And Leicester is even worse, and they didn't get anybody. So Steve Bruce is going back to the Premier League, guys. Is it going to be Villa or going to be Leicester?
I think it's more likely to be Leicester than Villa at this time.
Glorious that that man came back to the league. All right, Ron, you want to, speaking of, we're talking at the bottom here, we're going to run us through the table real quick, see where we're at?
Sure can. So your top teams, we've talked about it a bunch. Arsenal on 24 points, followed closely by Man City on 23. Tottenham just on the coattails, 1 3-point match behind Man City on 20 points. Chelsea right behind that on 16. We are a bit off the pace. Manchester United, 1 point right behind Chelsea in 5th. They're on 15 points. Newcastle's in 6th on 14.
They play each other on Sunday. Newcastle and Manchester United.
Oh, yeah. Then Brighton in 7th, also on 14 points. The only thing that separates them and Newcastle at the moment is a 3-goal difference. AFC Bournemouth. Who'd have thought they'd be sitting in 8th right now on 12 points? What a crazy turnaround for them. Wow. Fulham sitting in 9th on 11 points. Liverpool, languishing. Liverpool in 10th, barely holding on to the top 10 on 10 points. Brentford on...
Well, and hold on real quick with that. Bournemouth are in 8th. Liverpool are in 9th. The only place in between them... Bournemouth are in 8th. Liverpool are in 10th. The only place in between them is 9. Liverpool put 9 past Bournemouth just a few weeks back,
right? And
yet they're above Liverpool right now. Isn't that wild?
Liverpool is below them with a plus 8 goal difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Bournemouth is above them with a
12 difference.
Liverpool is the only team in places 10 through 20 that has a positive goal difference. That's how the season's going for the bottom half of the table. So in 11th is Brentford on 10 points. 12th is Everton on 10 points. And 13th, West Ham on 10 points. 14th is Leeds United on 9 points, tied with Crystal Palace, who's in 15th by goal difference on 9 points. Aston Villa just barely hanging on to their 16th place on 8 points. Southampton in 17th on 7 points. And then your relegation zone, dun, dun, dun. The Wolverhampton Wanderers in 18th on 6 points. Leicester City in 19th on 4 points. And Nottingham Forest in 20th on 4 points with the highest negative goal difference of negative 15. And they've only played 8 matches.
And you go all the way up. The next, the most goal difference right after them is minus 12, and that team's in 8th. Wild.
That is
wild.
Freaking bonkers. Just ridiculous. And, what is it? 9 games in, and Man City have 24 goal differential. Just to put that in perspective.
Man, they need to keep that attacking staff happy and healthy.
All right, ladies and jelly spoon. Next up, it's time for beer news, where I give you the Sultan of Sausage, the Prince of Pork Shank, the Sheik of Schnitzel, the royalty of the pork roll, Ron Keller, for the beer news.
Man, you guys are really upselling that.
I had to get the pork roll for the PA and Jersey in you.
Yeah, there you go. I appreciated that. Okay, I have one good story for beer news this week. The Great American Beer Festival was held in Denver, Colorado this past, the convention part was held October 6th through the 8th in Denver, Colorado. It is the USA's largest professional beer competition. 300 medals are awarded to 268 breweries. Gold, silver, and a bronze medal were handed out in 98 beer categories spanning 177 beer styles. Beer's really grown up in the past 20 years, guys. Judging took 9 days by 235 beer experts from 7 countries. Guess how many beer entries there were, gentlemen? Closest to without going over. Blake, you're first.
Say that one more time.
Guess how many total beer entries there were in the Great American Beer Festival.
So this isn't like styles. This is like that. How many, like, this doesn't count, like one brewery could put 12 entries in, right? This is the total.
The total number of entries. So if you're a brewery and you put in 5, that's 5 entries.
I'm going to say 1,114.
2,312.
You guys are off by at least 7,000.
Good. Really?
9,904.
That is way.
Which is up 27%
There you go.
from pre-COVID.
Wow.
Holy cow.
The average number of beers, the average number of competition beers entered in each category was 99. The top 5 style categories with the most entries were American Style IPA with 423 entries. The winner of gold, the gold winner on that was More Dodge, Less Ram from Comrade Brewing in Denver. Juicy and Hazy IPAs had 375 entries, and Anheuser-Busch from Flatland Brewing Company in Huntington Beach won the gold there. What a good name that is.
Yeah, right.
Anheuser-Busch, that's pretty great. The third category with the most entries, German Style Pilsner with 233 entries. The gold winner in that was a beer called Industry from Austin Beer Garden Brewing in Austin, Texas. The next style was German Wheat Ale, 209 entries, and Alpenglow won gold there from Fatheads Brewery and Saloon in North Central Ohio. And then the German Style Marzen with 207 entries, a beer shockingly called Oktoberfest, won the gold, and that's from Mighty Squirrel Brewing in Colorado. I screwed that up. Sorry. Mighty Squirrel Brewing Company in Waltham, Massachusetts. My bad. The most medaled brewery, North Park Brewing Company in San Diego, California. They won 4 different medals, a gold for their English Pale Ale, a silver for their Hazy IPA, a bronze for their American Style IPA, and a bronze for their Imperial IPA. So if you're in San Diego, get over to North Park Beer Company because they got some good winning beers. A couple of other breweries that we all know and love that won some stuff. Blake in Tennessee, Hutton and Smith Beer Company won bronze for their Tectonic Session IPA. They're in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
What were they calling it at the brewery?
Hutton and Smith Brewing Company. A brewery that Blake mentioned earlier, Zool, U with the umlaut and L. That beer company won silver for their Toro y Oso American Lager, and they're in Knoxville.
Dang it. If I'd have realized that was going on, I'd have shot over there and tried that one out. That's cool.
Another Knoxville, Tennessee brewery that won, Orange Hat Brewing, won silver for their Live at the Ryman Porter. They're a Knoxville, Tennessee one, so check them out. Tampa Bay Brewing Company wins bronze for Day Donkey Hoppy Lager.
Interesting. I don't think I've had that one yet.
Yeah, I haven't had it either. They're kind of known for the different donkey beers. They have like 3 or 4 different.
Reef Donkey, one of my favorites. Yeah, American Pale Ale, or American. Anyways, go ahead.
2 Orlando breweries come up big. Gatlin Hall Brewing,
yeah, they did
right
well.
down the street from my house.
They did well.
Wins a bronze for Lore, their Vienna style lager, which
awesome.
I like their Dortmunder.
I've had that
better, yeah,
a bunch of times.
But that is a good beer.
Also, a relatively new brewery to Orlando, Deadwords Brewing, wins gold for Bridge, which is their American style lager. Cigars.
I don't know if I've had that one yet.
I have.
Might have had that one. Yeah.
Cigar City Brewing wins a bronze for their Maduro Brown Ale. Sierra Nevada wins a bronze for their Sunny Little Thing, which is a fruit wheat beer out of Mills River, North Carolina, as Blake mentioned earlier. I think they're really onto something with that, the Little Thing, different styles of beer that they have. That's really good. And then my favorite brewery, again, Allagash Brewing, wins gold for the Belgian Wit. It's probably my second favorite beer on the planet. And they
as
win
Belgian
again.
wits go, I do like St. Bernardus the most, and I put that one as a very close second. Those two are my favorite wits. Those are great.
So if you go to the Great American Beer Festival website, you can check out all the winners. You can see information and all kinds of crazy fun stats, from how many people attended to how much hops were used in the making of the beer that was all entered. Like, there's some crazy fun information there. So check out the Great American Beer Festival website, and we'll get ready for next year. Yeah,
the Big Storm team was there. I don't think we took anything home this year, but we have in the past for some of our beers. So just so many good breweries, something that I wish I could have gone out to, and just
we should just take a
so many good beers out there. Just so many good beers.
Yes, I do field trip.
So in 1 year, it is possible for us to do a live pod in Oktoberfest and then fly directly to the Great American Beer Festival and do a live pod there.
One of these days. One of these days.
I'm just saying.
Our liver transplants.
Don't you worry about it. We'll be fine.
It's all right. We'll just give you an
beer,
IV.
water, beer, water. That's as clear as VAR will get right there.
Touche, salesman.
So there's your beer news for this week.
Thank you, the Sheik of Schnitzel. I like the royalty of pork roll, the pork royalty.
I love that I started Blake on this naming of Ron's. Makes me so happy.
As soon as you put the salt and the sauce down the first time, it was over.
Yep.
Like, Ron forever now will be the guy who went to Oktoberfest on the spot.
Until you go, and then you are going to get nicknames.
Yep.
Then we get our own nicknames. All right, Ferris, do you want to roll us into this MLS Cup playoffs, because we are set?
Absolutely. We'll move kind of quick as we're kind of short on time here. Boys, get your the bracket is provided to you below. Get your thoughts in mind here. Let's see who you're going to pick to go through. But the MLS playoffs are set, as Blake said. A very fun decision day yesterday across the league. Saw several clubs punch their tickets into the playoffs, while saw other clubs bow out until next year. As we alluded to and said on our last pod, all of the East played at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time yesterday, and all of the West played at what was like 5 o'clock Eastern time. So all of the West, all of the East play, so that these things can play out in kind of live time and teams don't know what the other one is necessarily doing. And it certainly played out that way for some. We'll just go over some of the important matches. Over in the East, the Philadelphia Union do what the Union do and score a bunch of goals as they beat Toronto FC 4-0 to secure their first round bye in the playoffs as they win the East. Remember, that was not locked in going into this game. Had they lost or given up points, then CF Montreal could have overtaken their first spot, which is crazy because the Union have been goal-scoring machines this year. And if Supporter Shield was determined any other way, like most leagues across the world do, not on wins but goal difference, the Union would have won over LAFC. But wins in that column kind of take the cake here in the MLS. A little bit further down the table, though, FC Cincinnati go from being the worst team in the East last season to clinching their first playoff appearance as they beat the new worst team in the East, the DC United team, who get the wooden spoon, as it's called in the MLS, for being the worst team in the MLS by a score of 5-2 and a Brenner hat trick in that one. FC Cincinnati are have really turned things around, and when we get to who they're going to play, they have a shot. They have a shot of going on.
Yeah.
So really keep an eye on that. And then finally, in the East, the last playoff spot played out here in Orlando. Ron and I went to that game yesterday, and boy, was it a fun game. It was a come-behind 2-1 victory in Orlando, courtesy of that handball that we alluded to earlier in the 84th minute, and that penalty was just absolutely quietly dispatched. Not quietly, but professionally dispatched. Anytime a penalty hits the side net before it hits the back of the net, that's a solid pen because the goalie there's not a whole lot that they can do with that. And our main big money move in the summer, Facundo Torres, who scored a bunch of goals this season, helped to earn City their third playoff appearance in 3 years with a win over the Columbus Crew, who were in contention for that.
After he scored, he's always doing the selfie celebration, but I don't know if you caught it, but a photographer actually went out there and put his camera by Facundo Torres' hand as he was taking the quote selfie and has that shot. And it was all over social media today.
We actually, I don't know if it was a part of the video we shared online. I don't think I quite got that far because we can't add the full, but I actually got that on tape of all of that playing down.
So great.
Which is kind of cool. So, you know, as you look through teams that kind of missed out, if you will, on the playoffs, included in the East, anyways, the likes of a Columbus Crew, which today, not evidently, but what played out is that Caleb Porter was sacked as manager of Columbus Crew 2 years after winning the whole thing, but has failed to make the playoffs in the past few years. Charlotte FC, a good showing this year, did not make the playoffs. New England Revolution did not. Atlanta United, and then we know some of the other teams. Moving over to the West, Minnesota United FC secured their spot in the MLS playoffs, as they pretty much had to win. And they played a pretty much complete game against the Vancouver Whitecaps, winning 2-0 at Allianz Field in Minnesota. Vancouver could have gotten in, but it would have taken a lot of other results, not only for them to win, but it just would have been a tall ask. And Minnesota United just made sure of that fact and secured their spot, coming in sixth place in the West. And then for the first time in, I think, over like 8 seasons or something, neither Cascadia team, Portland or Seattle, will be in the MLS playoffs, as Real Salt Lake never left it in doubt as they confidently beat Portland Timbers 3-1 at Rio Tinto Stadium.
That's crazy that neither of those teams are going to be in. They've been a fixture for so long.
Yeah.
They were, especially Portland. You never wanted to go play a game in Portland.
Yeah.
Right.
And Seattle have, since they've been in the league, have made the playoffs every single season. So kind of weird.
I cut them a little slack. They really went after that Champions League.
Yep, exactly. They put all their eggs in that basket for sure.
But it is wild to do that and not make it into the playoffs at all. Right.
Well, we were almost there. Like we barely got in. You know, it's we got in 7th, the last place in the East, and we should have gotten in multiple games ago, but we kept shooting ourselves in the foot, and we could have won the cup and not gotten into the playoffs, so that would have been interesting. But okay, so your teams in the East are confirmed as number 1 Philadelphia Union, number 2 CF Montreal, New York City FC, and 3 who, when we get to playing their home game that they get, is not going to be played at home because the MLB playoffs are going on and the Yankees play in that stadium, and they have to go to the Red Bulls Stadium over in Jersey.
Hold on. Aren't you supposed to have a soccer specific stadium?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but they are the reigning champs. New York Red Bulls, whose stadium they're going to be playing in, coming fourth. So if you're looking here at that, Montreal, New York City, and the Red Bulls all get a home game in the first round, while Philadelphia Union get a bye. The away teams, FC Cincinnati, come in 5th. They moved all the way up to 5th. They started off being, I think, in 9th on the day or something, and moved all the way up to 5th with the other results. Inter in 6th, and Orlando City in 7th. So how that bracket looks in the East. Again, Philadelphia Union get the bye in the first round. The Red Bulls play FC Cincinnati, the 4 and 5 seed. The 3 and 6 seed, NYCFC, Inter Miami. Then the number 2 and 7 seed, CF Montreal and Orlando City. Moving over to the West, LAFC, so Porter Shield winners, first in the West. Austin FC, second in the West. FC Dallas, third in the West. And the Galaxy, fourth in the West. So Austin, FC Dallas, LA Galaxy all get a home game with LAFC, getting the bye in the first round. Nashville SC secured their spot. They'll be on the road. They got 5th. Minnesota United secured their spot on the final day along with Real Salt Lake, 6th and 7th in that order, also on the road. They will play LA Galaxy, Nashville SC, 4 and 5 in the table will play each other. What's interesting about that one, if the Galaxy can pull off that result at home, then we have a El Tráfico derby in the quarterfinals. Yeah. How cool would that be? FC Dallas play who are the 3rd seed, play the 6th seed, Minnesota United, who are in 6th. They'll be playing in Dallas. And then Texas also gets another home game as FC Austin, or Austin FC, plays Real Salt Lake in 7th. Gentlemen, we'll start in the West. Who do you got advancing in the first round of the West?
Blake, you go first.
All righty. First round of the West. All right, so LAFC, has the bye. So between LA and Nashville, I think Nashville will win that one. You got that?
Yeah. Just do the entire West.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, just do your first round of the West.
Are you writing this down?
No.
Oh, well, I made a handy dandy thing for mine that I can give you, so you'll see how predictions go. So I go.
We have this on tape, so it's not like I have to.
Fair enough.
It's digital.
I have Nashville against LA Galaxy. I think Nashville will take it. FC Dallas will take it over Man United, Minnesota United.
They probably could. They probably could beat Man United right now.
Austin FC will beat Real Salt Lake. That's my West.
Man, I'm really similar. I think LA Galaxy is going to take out Nashville, FC Dallas over Minnesota, and then all right, Austin over Real Salt Lake.
All right, so now I'm going to start to write this down as you guys made me feel so bad about it.
Well, you're like the recorder of all these things.
Yeah, I know. I hadn't thought about that. Okay, so I agree with Ron. I think the Galaxy will get the win over Nashville, who just not really rolling into it with a lot of confidence. They're there. I think FC Dallas will take that game against Minnesota. A little bit of a dark horse, Dallas. They
quietly
they
crept up because they didn't have a good beginning of the season.
Yeah, they could go through. It'll be very, very Weird to see. There's everything telling me that Austin FC will win this game and should win this game. First playoff game at home. But
you're going to take Real. So.
Real, like, they shouldn't have even been in the playoffs last year because they had 0 shots on goal and still advanced somehow. I'm going to take Real Salt Lake. I would love to be all right all the way through, but I don't know. Something about Real Salt Lake as just kind of an upset is just there. Blake, over in the East.
Over the East, I'm going to say round 1, Red Bulls take out Cincinnati. Miami is going to upset NYCFC, so NYC Florida even more.
There's no good win in that.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to. I don't want to pick. I don't want to pick either of them.
I think I probably like NYCFC less.
Fair.
I think.
Okay.
And then certainly can't have them get two championships. And then I spent my summers there and all through high school. I think Montreal gonna knock out Orlando.
Oh man,
Ron,
traitor.
He's not a traitor because I'm going with that exact same thing.
You're also a traitor.
Hey, happy to get it.
Oh, I'm very happy to get that one wrong, but
traitors.
Go ahead, Ron.
Lazy.
So you have Orlando City beating Montreal.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm probably wrong, but I am rooting for them.
You're going straight hard.
I'm not a fair weather fan like you two.
I'm going to be rooting for him, but I'm trying to think realistic about this.
I think Cincinnati beats the Red Bulls.
I like it. Yeah.
Cincinnati, as we know, it's not about it's all about the momentum you have when going into the playoffs. And Cincinnati has,
and yet you have Orlando City winning.
They're your home team. You can't vote against your home team.
Sure you can.
You two traitors.
So then, who you got? NYCFC or Inter?
I hate both of them.
Yeah.
I think I'm with Blake in that I hate NYCFC more. So okay. I'll go with Inter.
All right. I will follow actually only one of yours. I do like FC Cincinnati as well. I think that they just have a lot of attacking talent that is kind of firing on all cylinders and has been for the last few months of the season. I'll take NYCFC. I think there's too much talent, although they're playing not at home, still up there. They've been here before. They know it really on any field. Inter, I don't want to say backed into the playoffs, but haven't been great. Now they are on a Gonzalo Higuain like retirement tour, and they're all trying to play for him because he announced that he's going to retire at the end of the season. So I wouldn't be surprised if Inter won. But either way, I see either of those teams playing CF Montreal as I will be cheering on Orlando, but going away to a very good Montreal team who have been, like, they could have pipped Philadelphia there had they dropped points on the final day. That's how good they've been. That's how many points they've had. I'd just be very, very tall ask. So from there.
Before we go on, since this has eliminated a bunch of teams, let's just say this is wild to look at. You have Nashville. You've got even Minnesota United. You've got Austin FC. You've got
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. Montreal up in here. Miami. What a wildly different looking playoff.
Yeah, without question. Especially like we were saying earlier, without normal teams like Portland and Seattle.
Yeah.
Just crazy to look at this. It's exciting. That's an exciting postseason.
All right, so we'll do quick fire here. Blake, you have LAFC playing Nashville. Who do you got?
LAFC.
All right. You also have FC Dallas playing Austin. Dallas Derby. Who you got?
I'm going to go with all right.
Hey, man. All right. Ron, you have the Galaxy playing LAFC. Who you got?
LAFC.
All right. You also have Dallas against Austin. Who you got?
All right.
Hey, man, you both choosing them. All right. I got the Galaxy and LAFC. I'm gonna go the Galaxy. I don't know why. I think they're a weirdly surging team right now. Puig, I'm not saying that right, but the signee from Barca in the window has been vital to their midfield role, and they're on something about that supporter shield usually bowing out and not winning and going all the way. LAFC is a very good team. I don't know, just something there. And then I got FC Dallas playing Real Salt Lake. I do think FC Dallas take that. All right, over in the East, Blake, you have the Red Bulls playing Philadelphia Union. Who you got?
The Union.
Union. You have Miami playing Montreal. Who you got?
Montreal.
Ron, you have FC Cincinnati playing the Union. Who you got?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati going that far? No kidding. All right. And then you have Inter playing Orlando City. Who you got?
Part of the Florida Derby, Orlando.
All right. I have FC Cincinnati playing the Union. I did the Union. And then NYCFC playing Montreal. I will take Montreal as well, as I think that they are a pretty darn good team. Blake, back over to the West. LAFC, Austin. Who you got going to the finals for the West? LAFC. All right. In the East, Union and Montreal.
Montreal.
Montreal out of the East. All right.
If they're going to take out Orlando, I want them to go all the way.
There you go. That's okay.
Fair.
I can subscribe to that. Ron, you have LAFC. Austin, who you got?
Oh, LAFC.
Yeah.
I in my heart, I want to root for Austin, but I think LAFC's just got too much.
Fair enough. Then you have Orlando City and Cincinnati. Wouldn't that be a hell of a East semifinal?
Stranger things have happened.
Or an Eastern Conference final to go. Wow.
Stranger things have happened, my
very
friends.
True. Very true. Who you got?
Didn't NYCFC backdoor into the playoffs last year and win it all?
A bit. I think they were like
maybe not. Maybe
yeah,
not in seventh, but
a bit.
I'm gonna go Orlando City.
Oh man, the Homer sticking with it.
Yep, I'm not rooting against them.
All right, I got the Galaxy playing FC Dallas in the West. I'll take FC Dallas. There's just something about that team.
Wow.
And then I got Union and Montreal in the East, and I will take the Union. All right, so Blake, you got LAFC and Montreal in the finals. Who wins it all?
I'd rather it be Montreal, but I'm picking LAFC because I think that's who would take it.
And that was your pick at the very beginning of the year as well. You're the only one that has a shot at still like getting something 100% correct. Ron, you got Orlando City and LAFC playing. Who you got?
I mean, if you're gonna go,
you gotta go all the way.
You just gotta go.
Dreaming purple dreams.
Orlando City
Legal in goal or not for the finals of the MLS.
For the PK saves at the end.
All right, so you have Orlando City winning the whole thing.
It's not gonna happen, but I'm voting for it.
Love it. Okay. I will take FC Dallas winning it all.
Whoa!
I think that Jesus. I think they're the dark horse. And I don't know. FC Dallas, I think, just puts it together, and I think they look it through. So there you go. Brackets are available everywhere on MLS at soccer.com. You can kind of find them anywhere if you want to submit brackets. We did not have a league this year that we started for this, but take your own picks and shoot them to us as we kind of monitor it through. And the first game of the MLS soccer playoffs, I believe, commence on the weekend. I'm not sure of the exact date, but I know we play on Sunday. So you'll see a weekend of MLS playoff soccer. And then to end kind of the football talk for the day, we alluded to last week on the pod and briefly talked about the alleged abuse and sexual misconduct allegations and other wrongful happenings throughout the National Women's Soccer League over the past several years here in the U.S. Well, on the day when we recorded it last week is when the Yates Report was released to the public. The Yates Report can be found on ussoccer.com, and the findings of the investigation were commissioned by U.S. Soccer Federation and was conducted by former U.S. Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates. The report read, "Our investigation has revealed a league in which abuse and misconduct, verbal and emotional abuse, and sexual misconduct had become systematic, spanning multiple teams, coaches, and victims." A couple of highlights from that report. It's a 300-plus page report which details systematic and personal wrongdoings conducted from interviews and other investigation tactics. Focuses mainly on 3 NWSL head coaches, Paul Riley, Rory Dames, and Christy Holly. Some clubs, staff, players, and so on refused to participate in the investigation. Clubs and league did little in terms of responding to reports of allegation when complaints came forward, and the report recommends a number of fixes to be applied. Now, for respect to all of those involved with these atrocities, we don't want to begin to fully break down or analyze the report, and we merely offer our support to all players and staff and hope for systematic, profound change in the foundation of protecting players in a growing, wonderful, and needed women's league in this country. For more information on this report and this entire topic, you can head over to ussoccer.com, The Athletic, and ESPN for plenty of detailed articles, professional commentary, and much more in-depth look at this news, which has rocked the sporting world in this country this past week. Also, if you haven't, on ESPN Plus, check out E60's documentary, Truth Be Told, which chronicles some of the most serious allegations of abuse in the NWSL, and were actually done prior to this report being released, and they had to kind of update it last moment.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say on that in terms of, like, hashing through the specifics, but that's a lot. That's a lot of cleaning house that needs to happen, and we'll see how quick it happens, but for a lot of players, it's already not moving quick enough.
Yeah. A lot there to unpack.
Sad circumstances all the way around.
A lot of years, a lot needs to change. A lot needs to change. But it's a hell of a league. It's a league that obviously we are all season ticket holders to and thoroughly enjoy. And it should be enjoyed by us. It should be enjoyed by the players. They should be protected. Staff should be protected in, like, all businesses. Sporting world is a business. There needs to be HR policies. There needs to be things in place that help protect those working for that business, and that has seemingly not happened over the years, and hopefully that change happens much sooner rather than later.
And we need to demand from the NWSL and their leadership changes, how they're going to implement change, what changes they're going to implement, and we have to hold them accountable.
And U.S. Soccer, not just the NWSL, because first, up until 2020, the U.S. Soccer had control of the NWSL.
Right.
They were essentially the governing body of the NWSL.
Because they were also supplementing player
correct
paychecks and things like that.
Yep.
But we really do need to hold people accountable and demand the change.
Yeah, the one of the quotes on the E60 from Megan Burke, the NWSL Players Association Executive Director. You would have thought that in launching a business where there were some pretty basic things you could look at having, like background checks and anti-discrimination policy and anti-harassment policy, an HR person. So it just kind of lets you know from the beginning how Wild West the situation was.
Yeah. You know? And I listened to something, and just kind of the last note on this is kind of interesting, and I don't want to go too much into it, but on the United States of Soccer show on Friday, Jason Davis had on Hope Solo, a controversial figure in the game, obviously, and has gone through a lot, and a lot of her pitfalls and accomplishments have been recorded over the past, several years. But she also speaks that it's not just the governing body, it's not just those in charge, it's the players as well. And she didn't name names, but the amount of bullying, sexual orientation comments, those type of things that occurred in the locker rooms of the U.S. women's national team, the NWSL, how much that occurred and how that did not help, how a various number of things were occurring that really blurred the lines and didn't necessarily help towards some of this. There's not just one person to blame. There's not just three people to blame. Really got to take a step back and look at everyone and really reform how things are going on to help protect everyone.
Amen to that. I got no clean out of something that crappy. So if we are done there, I will just move on, gentlemen. So our beers of the pod this episode were from Next Level Brewing. I had the Viejo Norte Knox, the dark Mexican lager. What did you gents have?
White Bronco, juicy IPA out of Canada.
Sandwich Brewing.
Windsor.
Thanks for bringing that one, because seeing Ferris in real time discovered that thing was a reference to Ocean. Pretty amazing. That was fantastic. As always, thank you for listening. Check us out. If you go to the website, thebeautifulgame.com, or follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Untapped. We're always doing a ton of stuff up there. You can leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or however you listen to us. Take a screen grab, get it to us with a jacuzzi or something out your way. Or just tell folks who like soccer about the Beautiful Game. We appreciate it. Ferris, does that get us over to your Zlatan Ibrahimovic quote of the day?
Sure. I am going through here. Okay. I don't know if we said this one before. I don't think so.
Start marking these.
Yeah, right. If I'd gone into Taekwondo, I'd probably have won several Olympic medals.
I mean, that's pretty evident from the picture we have hanging in the studio of him sidekicking somebody.
And the little thing was like, this is from the ever-confident Swede, attained a black belt in Taekwondo as a teenager.
It's that how he said it too, was like, he absolutely believes it.
Oh, yeah.
Easily.
Without a doubt.
Easily. And then I'll just give you one more to even help prove that fact. On his amazing 30-yard overhead kick, which scored Sweden against England, I believe, in Wembley Stadium in 2012, he said, "You can't coach brilliance like that."
Oh, he's great.
No, you can't. All right, gents, I want to try something different for tonight. I tried a different thing this evening. In the spirit of positivity, maybe a little like a little like positive way to get you out there. A little advice. So here's the thing: as you go out to your week, thanks for listening to us. Remember, I've always heard, you have to always look into a mirror before you got to go make those big decisions in life. It helps you reflect.
Follow us on the Untaps, Instagram, Facebook.
Send us a screenshot. We'll get you a magnet or a koozie.
Tell us how much you like the dad jokes.
Send us a dad joke book. You can send it to Knoxville.
That one was not one of your better ones.
That was rough.
Sorry, dude.
Oh, so good, because it hurt you guys. They're better if you guys literally can't speak because it's so bad.
Well,
that's what I
do.
Well, congratulations.
Speechless.
Yeah.
That one was utterly terrible.
Yeah. And I looked in a mirror and practiced that too. So there you go.
Did you reflect?
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and jelly spoons, to quote Mr. to quote, oh gosh, who's our old favorite comedian? Oh, Eddie Izzard, to quote amazing. Ladies and jelly spoons, thank you for listening. As always, love the beer, cherish the game, the beautiful game.